Well, hello. Thanks for listening or watching, or maybe you're doing both. You listen to the podcast, now you're watching the video training because it sparked some curiosity and you want to see what it was that I was specifically talking about. Either way, I'm just thankful for you to spend some time with us and am grateful for what you do for the kingdom. The most exciting thing in all of history is being celebrated here in just a few days. The resurrection, the empty tomb. That is what it is that allows us to have the hope that we have, the drive, the sense of urgency to do what you do, and for us to serve you in those endeavors is because we believe with all of our hearts that Jesus died and was buried and that he rose again. And it is that good news that I want to leverage every possible means, digital, technology, personal, whatever it is, to make Jesus known. Because I believe everybody ought to know who Jesus is. And so it is our purpose at Kavanaugh Media to either do the marketing for ministries all around the world, allowing them to focus in on what it is that they do well, which is learning the language if they are expats, and or if they're locals, same thing, to speak in that heart language to local people, to evangelize and to disciple them and see the church of Jesus Christ, making it there and strong in your context. So for some teams, that's what we do. We run the ads, we work with them to help create content, do technical things like websites and all sorts of other types of analytics. And for others, we just help coach them and provide resources for them. However we are able to help you, we're thankful to be able to do that. And I wanted to do this podcast and this video training today because I think it's really important. Right now, currently, the war in Ukraine is still going on. And one of the things that was forecast that would happen is a tremendous amount of cyber attacks and cyber warfare. And this is a threat that is very real with real ramifications, and is one that I believe is going to continue to grow. Now, not all of you are working in sensitive locations or places where you have to worry about a government or someone trying to hack into your database of Christians or whatever you might have there. But regardless, you do keep a lot of personal information on your devices, on your computers, your banking, your donors, your teammates. So much information now is stored digitally that there are possibilities that people can gain access to your account and could create all sorts of trouble for you and for maybe local believers. So we don't want to do that. We want to make sure that everything possible is locked down. And so what I'd like to give to you today are just a few suggestions of some things that you can do to check to make sure that your accounts are as secure as possible. And there will be some things that potentially I will forget to mention or won't have on this list, but it is important that you are looking both at your computer and at your cell phone as well. So before I get into all of the steps that I'd like for you to look at, let me just start simply with your cell phone and say this. Make sure that you are using fingerprint, Face ID for your phones. I mean, this is just a given. Use a good password to be able to get into your phone, because that is a weak place. If you're concerned about the security of your phone and because of where you're operating, do not back it up to the cloud. Do not put in a lot of extra apps on your phone. Okay, so protect it in that kind of way to make sure that people cannot gain access to that. And there's one other thing then when it comes to your cell phone, and that's, if possible, get a PIN number attached to your cell phone account so that somebody else cannot do what's called a SIM swap, go in there, say that they are you, and port your phone over. That actually happened to us. It was on my birthday a few years ago. getting ready to take a trip overseas to North Africa, and all of a sudden, my wife gets a message on her phone saying, you have successfully changed the admin of the account. And then as I was trying to use her phone to call into our cell phone provider, her phone line went dead. And then a message went to one of our children who actually works and studied in cybersecurity. And it was his quick action where he began to recognize what was happening. He actually reached out to our bank, who said that there was already an attack underway to take away the savings and the funds that we had in our checking account. They just took over the account, said that they were us, got it switched to their phone, and then they did a lost password and used text to be able to send the text to them. So do not use text. And I'll address this here in just a second. So let's jump into really your accounts, whether they be on a cell phone or a computer. Let me help you do a security audit. A social media security audit. All right, here we go. First things first, as you're doing this, is I think it's really important for you to have good, strong passwords. Words like Bible 123 or password or whatever, they're not good. And so the more digits, capital, underline, symbols, and amount of variables in it will increase your level of security drastically. Do not use the same password on more than one account. Just don't do it. You need to get a password manager, and it goes for the same thing for your team accounts. Don't use one email and one password for your whole account and then have everybody using it. Because what will happen is one of you will be on home service or on holiday, and you try to log in, and somebody else is back in your host country there, and all of a sudden your account's been flagged because they're like, same person, two different places. So do not do that. Use a password manager, something like LastPass or 1Password. I would be very cautious about using your browser's password manager as your main one to do that as well. You may decide you want to, but be very careful on where you're storing your passwords and make sure you're using a password manager. All right, make sure that you're doing that regularly and check your passwords to make sure you're not reusing them. If you use a multi-digit one, the ability to go in there and just to guess it or to crack it using some of the tools out there will be extremely hard. It will take months of time if you use a long and very random password. All right, so a password manager is the first thing. The second thing to do is just check your security settings, because in the different social media ones that you're using, there's different types of settings that you can look at. And if you're using like Facebook or Google or let's say Twitter, something like that, check your security settings. I'll show you here. There's one place that you can do that just within your Facebook account itself. And so you'll go into Facebook, your personal Facebook account, and then up in the top right, in this little bar way up there in the top right, if you click on that, there'll be a place where you can choose your security and privacy settings. And when you click on that, it'll take you to a screen like this. And in this screen, then you can check what you're sharing, who you're sharing with, what apps, all sorts of stuff. So go into your social media accounts and be checking them regularly. As well, check the security and just the user agreements, because some of these things like WhatsApp and other ones that are out there sometimes change their user settings. So you want to make sure that what you're doing is, as accurate, is the right thing for where you're at and your security posture. All right, so when you're doing this, go in there, check all those settings, make sure that everything seems the way you want it to be. All right, and then check on them, change it, make sure that you're comfortable with it. Talk about it as a team. Are you okay with the different settings that you have on your account? Make sure that as a team, you're talking through your personal access and what you're wanting to do there. All right, so that's if you're in Facebook or if you're in Google or something like that. That's important to be doing that. But there's other ones that are out there. So each one of them are different. Each one of them are ones that you need to be checking. And so I'd encourage you to be doing that. All right, let's look at the next one here, which would be two-factor authentication. And two-factor authentication is actually one of the best things that you can do, using an authenticator app on your phone and or a hardwired two-factor key. That's what we use at Kavanaugh Media. Every member of our team has one, and that's how we go through and make sure that our email accounts, our social accounts, as many of those, are banking, everything. It's a physical key. In fact, I read that in Google, when accounts began to use two-factor authentication, unless somebody steals that physical key, they can't gain access into your account. The amount of accounts being hacked went to 0 after they began using those two-factor, when accounts use them. So this is one of the best things that you could do, is use a two-factor authentication key. Get that key. You can buy them. There's different ones that are out there. You can go on Amazon or wherever, buy them. Next thing, limit access. Right? Not everybody has to have admin access on your site. Not everybody needs to be doing all things, seeing all of your ad accounts and that. So make sure that you're limiting who has access to what. And one of the best ways to do that is by using a business manager account. So if you're using Facebook, running ads there, or on Google as well, make sure it is set up and not a personal account. And don't add people to your account personally. That is why, as an agency, we are always added to your account as an agency, and then we can control even who has access to your account and assets that you have there. So use a business manager. If somebody says, they want to help you and they're asking for you to add them personally to your account, just say, no, that is not what you need to be doing. Limit the access to who has access to different things. This is another reason why I personally like tools like Echo Global, because it only has one point of connection from the Facebook account or whatever social media account to the Echo software. And then all the other responders, they're not even visible to Facebook. So just limit what is visible, who has visibility, and what they can see in your accounts. Next thing, check your app access. So within Facebook or other social media accounts, you can see what other applications are using it. Maybe you have used Facebook to log into other sites, or your Google email, or something else. Check that in Google, in Facebook, in your social media accounts. Check to see if you're still okay with them having your Twitter login, whatever it might be. Now, Apple's come out with a really neat thing where it can really anonymize that login, checking in with Apple. So if you or your group uses an Apple device, that could be a really great one to use there. Also, check just device access. What computers, what iPads, what phones, what has access to your account. Be checking that. If you don't recognize something, revoke the access to it. Be careful. Look through there. Make sure that when you are getting rid of a device, you're doing it in such a way that nobody can access any of your accounts later on. Check your GPS settings as well. If you use your phone like we do to put in directions to make sure we know where we're going, that information is being shared. And if you're in a secure location, that may not be something that you want to do. So check location sharing and check to make sure that the GPS and those things are not being shared with your social media accounts, because all of that will be recorded into it. All right. Finally, just talk about it as a team. Get together and have an audit. Talk about, what are you supposed to say? Maybe you're in a secure location, and what if the police stop you? What are you supposed to say? What are you supposed to tell them? Where are you supposed to go? How are you supposed to let other people know if you're having trouble? Maybe you're not in a secure location like that. You still need to talk about as a team how you want to control access, because not everybody needs to be an admin. Not everybody needs to have access. And everyone, though, needs to be using secure means, secure passwords, two-factor authentication, being logged in the correct way, and making sure that everybody is following the best rules. So make sure you talk through that as a team. Make sure you're training through it as well. Make sure that through this whole process, you are really making sure that what you're wanting to do is what you're wanting. All right, so talk through it as a team and make sure that everything is set up correctly. All right, well, I hope that has been giving you some ideas to check on some things, to go in there just to see your own settings, to see how you're doing in your social media accounts and checking the security of them. Hopefully you don't have any trouble whatsoever, but forewarned is forearmed. Being prepared in advance is a smart thing to do. So hopefully this is a benefit to you today. We want you to be safe. We want you to walk in faith, though, not in fear. And so I hope that we can help you be able to continue to be able to do that. Check out our podcast each week or the video show here. If you've not liked them, please do. Please share it with other people. And if we can help you in some way, if we can partner with you or just help provide some sort of answer to a problem you're having, we want to do that. Until next time, take care and God bless.